Commissioner Biker, lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First item on the agenda is to approve our agenda. Move it.
Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Gage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. At this point, we'll open the meeting up to any public comment. Is there anyone here to address the Brown County Commission this morning? Good morning, Carl.
How about if I do a real quick one? My name is Carl Perry, and I'm a District 3 representative. Most of you know that, but I thought I'd say it anyway. Tomorrow at NSU, in the library, Marmenstein has his program, and we'll be having D3 there talking about education legislation, just keeping you informed. This last week I went to an ESG meeting in Pierre, and had the Governor's Office, the Heritage Foundation, the South Dakota Retirement System, the Investment Council, 2 senators and 2 of us representatives, and what we worked on was ESG, which is environment, social, and governance. It's new buzzwords. It's called responsible investing. And so at some point you're going to be hit with ESG as a county, so you need to be aware of it. We addressed it in the state in 2010, so I'm not sure if you were there in 2010, but we probably got it done with either you or Dennis. One of you guys was pretty good. And the final thing is regional jail will have the final report on that November 5th.
Okay.
That's all I have for you.
Very good. Thank you, Carl. Leanne.
I'm Leanne Fredersen, and this is Don Shepard, and we are here because we are concerned about the proposed 4-way stop that is on Highway 10 and the Beef Road. I live 2 miles south of Melgard on the Old Warner Road, which is Highway 10, and this morning I traveled to Aberdeen at 7:45. At the Beef Plant intersection, there were vehicles turning east to the Beef Plant. They all would have had to stop. We had a stop sign. The turning was very smooth. There was no problem. I came home at 7:45. I met 19 vehicles coming into town from the south. There were no vehicles coming from the east and west, and all of the 19 vehicles would have had to stop. We travel the Highway 10 to town many times a day, and sometimes a whole bunch of times during the day. I have yet to see a vehicle. I have seen 1 vehicle that did not stop from the east to the west. We who have lived and drove this road for 50 years, 55 years, Dale and I have been out there, and we've been driving that road, and now we're going to have to stop at that intersection. There has always been a stop sign from the east and the west. Why should we be penalized for them if they're not stopping? I don't know. What is it for? I understand there has been very, very few accidents, and the road is patrolled. It is patrolled in the morning when people go to work, and when they're coming home, isn't patrolled at that time. Do you think there is a problem with the east and west traffic not stopping? Can you imagine the people coming from the north and the south having to wait for each Beef Plant vehicle to leave for home at quitting time? Don?
Okay, and I agree with her. We're basically being penalized, and putting a 4-way stop. The only problem that I have ever seen, and I drive that road every morning, every night, sometimes 3-4 times in between there, because I live right across the road from her, and I drive that road all the time. And the only place I've seen people not stopping is coming from the Beef Plant during shift change. And very, very rarely do I see a semi not stop coming from the west. It's always from the east. And there's railroad tracks there, and they should be stopping anywhere from that. And I guess I never use that road, but I'm thinking that the stop sign is on the east side of the tracks, like it is on Melgard. So I don't know why those people aren't stopping there even, but they're not. And I don't know how putting stop signs on north and south is going to make them stop any better, because that's what the problem is they're not stopping. And I guess forcing everybody else in the world that uses that road or the east-west road to stop is not going to make the people that aren't stopping now stop afterwards. They're just gonna expect they have the right of way now, and that's gonna embolden them and make them just pull out even faster and more frequently. And that, I guess, is the main reason, not why putting stop signs for, you know, on the North and South Street, South Fifth Street we call it, 387th. And, she said the road is patrolled. Well, it's patrolled. I see highway patrols and sheriff's deputies. They're parked on South Fifth Street 2-3 days a week, but they're not at that corner. And I guess if they know that people aren't stopping at that stop sign, why isn't it being enforced? Why isn't an officer being parked down there at shift change? And that's really the bad time, is that shift change, when everybody's leaving the beef plant, and they're all just zipping, and that would be the time for an officer to be parked down there and enforce it or ticket these people. I think if it was like patrolled heavily for a week or two and everybody was getting ticketed, that would teach them to stop there. They wouldn't want to pay those. But instead, I see the officers parked maybe half a mile past the corner, past Harlan Young's place, trying to catch speeders coming through there, or at the sale barn, trying to catch speeders coming through there. So I know that they do watch that road, but why aren't they watching that corner if that's the case? And if everyone is aware that traffic isn't stopping from the east, why isn't somebody patrolling it or enforcing it and punishing the ones that are breaking the law instead of making everybody else who uses that road stop? Secondly, if there's no way that we can convince you to not put stop signs on the north and south, the signs, basically, if they're going to be like the ones on Meldog Corner, are just too small. People coming north and south aren't going to see them because it's too busy of a corner with telephone poles and county road signs and wires, and there's homes there and utility boxes. And when I drove by there this morning, I can see where they're attempting, where the posts are for the signs. And I'm like, it's going to just blend in with the background. And even when I come from the west, because I work on the west end of town, and so that's the way I go, there's been once or twice where I miss it because I'm looking ahead like where the railroad tracks are. And I know you have to stop at that corner. And I mean, I'm right on top of that stop sign before I realize it's there. So I'm thinking part of the problem too may be that they're just not realizing they're there. It just jumps out in front of them because that sign is too small. I've seen some areas in the county where they have bigger stop signs with solar-powered flashing lights around them where you can see them from a quarter mile to a half a mile away, and you know there's a warning. And there's rumble strips at most of these places. There are no rumble strips on South 5th Street. There's no warning. All of a sudden it's there, and you're going to have to try and hit the brakes because you're like, I've been out there 30 years. You're just not used to it. You're just going along. And then worse yet, in the winter time, and I know you're not there, Miss Arizona bound in the winter, but I drive that road all the time, and I hate driving that road.
Dawn, I'm going to interrupt you. We get your point. There may be others here to speak.
Okay,
And
sure.
we're limited on the amount of
Okay,
public
so
comment
just
time we
in
have.
closing, I'm going to say, in the winter time, there's got to be maintenance there, because there isn't right now. It's a skating rink. The west wind blows, the south wind, or the north wind blows, and the west road, like in front of Dommy's, the Beef Plant Road, and the South 5th Street on the south end of the intersection is a sheet of ice all winter long, from the first snowfall till it's melted in the spring, because nobody maintains it. It's plowed, but it's never sanded, it's never salted. Everybody slides through that intersection there. And so if, you know, the county is going to insist on putting stop signs there, I guess all I can say is I would encourage you to get larger signs with flashing lights, rumble strips, so people are aware of it, and keep that properly maintained, or you're going to have a lot more accidents, forcing people to stop, slide through, and get rear-ended and cause a lot more accidents on there.
Thank you.
Okay, and I have talked to people from Warner, I've talked to people in the trailer courts, I've talked to my neighbors, and we are all very upset.
Dirk, would you like to address what we're doing down there?
I'm gonna say the first thing in response to your comment about the intersection with sliding through it and stuff and the rumble strips. Once we get the stop sign in there, then that'll get sanded differently because it's an intersection.
Well, it's not, the two aren't sanded right now. I mean, I come from the west all the time, and I think twice last winter it was sanded, and that was it. And you slide right through there.
Sure, and then you gotta, you know, don't overdrive the road conditions, but,
I drive 15 miles an hour
Okay.
in four-wheel drive, and I still slide through there if I'm trying to stop and turn.
Sure.
I'm not kidding you.
no, I believe you.
I leave
Sure.
an extra 15 minutes just to get to work on time in the wintertime because of that road.
So anyway, what'll happen at that intersection regarding the snow removal will change because it will be a complete stop situation, and we address those differently, regardless of how we
We got a
address that
guarantee on that, if that's
specifically.
true?
It's in our plan, it's in the snow removal plan, so.
All right.
And,
If it's not, I'll be on the phone.
Yeah. Back to the traffic counts, I'm glad that you guys have some data, and I appreciate your comments, because you brought the attention to how unique that intersection is. I mean, just in all your comments and what's going on with there. So I appreciate that, because it helps to support why we need to control the traffic there a little differently. Now, just purely on the numbers, I have no idea how you guys came to your numbers, so I can't, all I got is my data, okay? And since, the last time we took a traffic count down there would have been about 2010. And then the state did them down there in 2013, and we did them in April after the sheriff's department contacted us about taking a look at that intersection. And at that time, coming from the south, is, I believe, 1,300 cars. 1,365, so many a day come up from Warner into that intersection from the south. And that's down about 300 from 2010. The east-west road was 450 and 350 on either side of the intersection, and now they're at 750. It's almost double. So just on the change in the traffic there, and in addition to that, from 6 to 8 o'clock in the morning, you capture the peak hours on both the roads. So between 6 and 8, you have about 300 cars that go through that intersection in an hour. So all those things together is why I use the peak time when we use one of the warrants to put them in there. The other thing, you know, you're talking about County 10, which of course was a state highway, and when they built it, it was a through road all the way through the county. But today, this is the last intersection that's, you know, hasn't had any changes to it, with a couple exceptions. 21 further south, you know, between Warner and this road, there's a gravel road in there that still stops for 10, and Road 9 north of Westport still stops for 10. But 11, we switched that 2 years ago. Prairiewood, we switched that 3 years ago on 13 and 11. And, you know, when they put in the state road, all the roads stopped for it. And now we're down to maybe these two gravel ones, 9 and 21, that stop for it. And that's all has to do with where there's traffic and where there's not traffic. So, I mean, those are my comments about the numbers part of it. The other thing is, this isn't really something they vote on. I mean, they can decide to not put the stop sign there, but when we have numbers that show the traffic's changing and when we didn't do anything about it, it's completely different. It's not penalizing anybody, you know. And when I talked to you the other day, Leanne, you used the word fair a few times. I don't even know, the fair is what we do in August. I have no idea what fair is pertaining to the road system, because fairness isn't something, you know, I've talked to these guys about being, if they were districted commissioners and we'd have to be fair and spend some money here and the same amount of money over here, that doesn't make any sense to me. You gotta do it where you need to do it, and that's where you make your changes. So, I understand your feelings, I do, and we had the exact same conversations when we've changed the other ones, with the stop signs. But, I think the numbers warrant it, and I really don't have any reason. Like I said, I appreciate your comments, and I know that you guys are active. It's nice that people pay attention, if you want me to be completely honest. But I don't see any reason to deviate from what we're doing.
Any other comments? Anyone else here to speak to this?
How many of you drive the road?
I have driven those roads.
All the time? Yeah?
No, not all the time, I don't live down there.
Well, I tell you, your people are, we're pretty concerned about it and upset that, and, I can get numbers for you of people with a petition or whatever, but, we're not very happy.
I will tell you that, I believe it was said 3 years ago when the signs switched on Brown County 13 and Brown County 10, a mile north of the fairgrounds, that I, for one, got an awful lot of correspondence that that was the worst thing we could do. It was gonna cause multiple accidents. We were just out to kill people because the changing of those signs was just gonna lead to a total disaster. And to the best of my knowledge, I have not heard of one reported accident after switching those stop signs. And I think from a safety standpoint, that would be the reason that we're doing it down south. And people say, well, it's been that way for 50 years. 50 years ago, there wasn't a beef plant that has exponentially increased the amount of traffic going east and west. And it's probably going to continue to grow as the beef plant continues to ramp up and gets up to full production. You're probably going to see more and more traffic. And from a safety standpoint, I don't think we want to take a chance of waiting until someone makes a mistake and we have a serious accident there before we react and do something that from a safety standpoint, to me, that would be the strongest and the biggest reason to make it a four-way stop,
Well,
to
then
keep everyone safe.
Put in our traffic lights, then we'd all have equal time to stop. How many, have you received any phone calls on this problem?
I've received one, and that was yours last night.
I got like 5.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Any of the commissioners?
I live up on Highway 10, and Highway 11 used to be the through. And 2 years ago, I believe it was 2 years ago, they changed it and flipped it around. So now the 11 traffic goes through, and now I have to stop on 10. I'm thinking probably it makes a minute out of my life a day, because I have to stop that stop sign when I come to Aberdeen, I gotta stop when I come home. So when I look at a minute in my life, I can get in Aberdeen and wait for a traffic light for that long. So it hasn't really affected me by changing that light, and I have to drive it every day no matter where I go. Is that stop sign used to be in my favor, now 11 used to have stop, and prior to that, 11 when it was through, or 11 was a stop and 10 was a through. In my time up there's been 3 accidents on that. Since they've changed that sign, there's not been an accident in 2 years. So in that particular case, and one of the things that why 11 was changed, the bridge was a load restriction bridge. And when they put the new bridge in, that's when they flipped the stop sign around, because all of a sudden now the 11 traffic got heavier, because now the trucks and stuff could come through 11. Before they couldn't come through because of the restrictions on the bridge. That was one of the reasons why 10 and 11 got switched on the stop sign. Now, did it affect me? Yeah, now I have to stop it instead of go through. But it's not like it's taken a lot out of my life. You know, I'm just using common knowledge of when you stop that stop sign, you restart. And you figure you do that going to town and coming home, what is it, a minute? I mean, it's not a big factor to me, but that's just my opinion.
Do you have that much traffic as you would have from the east and west on that?
No, probably not the traffic down here, but I think one of the things is I go back to the 2 accidents or the 3 accidents that happened prior to that. People on 11 never stopped because they had highway, and then number 10 actually turned into a gravel road. People on 11 just thought they could buzz through, while people on 10 actually had the right-of-way, and that's where the accidents came in. So, you know, there's more than just the fact that it's inconvenience. It's what you're looking for in the future is going to happen there. You know, and actually, 11 picked up when the bridge opened up. You know, naturally, when the bridge wasn't open, you didn't have any truck traffic at all through there.
Well, we feel that the beef people have priority over the people south of Aberdeen, the residents. Okay.
You know, I guess.
Yeah, no one likes change, and I'll be the first to admit that. Nobody, accepts change very well, but sometimes things are necessary to keep people safe, and I think, to me, that would be the primary reason for adding the stop sign, so that it increases awareness of the increase in traffic from the east-west, which I think is only going to increase as time goes by.
Is there any records on how many people have been ticketed for running this stop sign coming from the B plant?
That I would have to check with the sheriff's office, I can't answer that, or the highway patrol.
Or if it's being enforced?
We appreciate you taking time out of your day to come in. We will, give this some serious consideration, and we have one commissioner gone today, so maybe we can discuss it again next week to see if there's a good reason to change our plan. But otherwise, I think we're gonna continue with, to support the resolution at this point, but that's just my opinion, so. Is there anyone else here to speak to that issue or any other issue? Anyone online or on the phone that would like to address the commission this morning? Again, thanks for taking time out of your day to come in, we appreciate that. Next up, Brown County Fair Rodeo RFP, Rachel Kipley. Saw Rachel here. Morning, Rachel.
Good morning, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Do you guys have the language for that RFP? Is it in the packet, or do you want copies?
It's in the packet, yes.
Alright, well, I got copies, email one. Oh, thank you, I appreciate that. So we've come up with a list of at least 9 stock providers that we will mail this RFP to, 3 of which I've already spoke with and are interested in putting in a proposal. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn, but I think they just approved the 1 page and then the specifics we can mail out, right? Or, okay.
You said 9
Yeah,
potential?
working with some of the
I didn't know
rodeo
there was
committee.
even 9 around.
Yeah, there is, and some of them are North Dakota, Montana, Iowa, but I mean, that's not unusual to get somebody from a border state or this area to come do rodeos.
Good to know there's that many.
Yeah,
options.
and the fact that we're a Monday, Tuesday rodeo is kind of good for us, because they could do our rodeo between weekend
Sure.
gigs, so.
Sure.
So I'd entertain, if
Very
you guys have
good.
any questions.
Any commissioners have any questions on this? I think, yeah, we hope to get some responses and maybe some good prices. Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the RFP to be sent out to rodeo promoters. Motion by Gage, second by Fikert. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah. And the second thing I was here about is a potential place that we were looking at doing in the kid zone. The Fair Foundation Board meets tomorrow, and based on whether or not you guys are okay with it, they'll decide whether to go full bore and start fundraising for that. We've had commitments of $4,500 so far. They got about 10 grand in their account. So, this is the exact structure that it would be on the front of that cover. And then Mike Scott at the landfill would help us with the wood chips and stuff. I got a few extras, if anybody wants to look at one.
And your goal is to have this in place for next year's, by next year's fair?
That is our hope, yep. And there's different levels of giving and things like that in order to get name recognition on the sign we'll have on, in front of it.
And I think it's important to announce also that you have received, or the foundation has received confirmation of the 501c3 status.
Yes,
So-
Sue's office has indicated that has occurred. They're just waiting on the IRS to send the letter, so.
So that may make a difference to some people's decision whether or not to donate to the foundation.
Yes. So if you wanna take that and give it to somebody who might wanna donate, that would be great.
Since it's a function of the foundation, I'm not sure if there's anything that we, the commission, have to necessarily approve, but
We are gonna go after one grant. We got $3,500 last spring from the Aberdeen Community Foundation, which we did not take because we were not quite established enough to be ready to get this set. So we were gonna submit the same paperwork for a $5,000 grant in hopes of getting something from them. So we do have a letter on your guys' letterhead if you guys would see fit to sign that, just say, that you're in support of it.
so you all saw the letter in the packet. I guess I would entertain a motion to approve the submission of that letter to the Aberdeen Community Foundation for a potential grant.
So moved.
Motion by Fikert.
Second.
Second by Feldheim. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll get that sent off.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
One
you.
last thing, it's not on the agenda, but no decisions needed, informational only. Just last night, we got the numbers from the clubhouse and the AHA Hockey Association. So I'll give you copies of those, and I'll also have a copy in the auditor's office, as well as give one to Elise, anybody that's interested, that's public information. You're welcome. And the last one, I'm gonna put it, if you wanna put it in the auditor's office, I can make you a copy, okay? Any questions for me? Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, moving on, local emergency management performance grant agreement. In the packet there was a document that we would be signing and sending off, applying for a emergency management performance grant agreement.
I'll move it.
Motion by Feldheim,
Second.
second by Gage. Excuse me. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Indigent Defense Service bid opening. Lynn, you gotta take care of opening those? We have just one? Oh, okay.
And then the date for change. Notice for Indigent Defense Services, notice is hereby given that sealed bills received in the chambers of the Brown County Board of Commissioners at the Courthouse Annex, 25 Market Street, Suite 1, Aberdeen, South Dakota, until the hour of 8 a.m. on, was originally September 30th and moved it to today, October 4th. At said time and place, all bids will be publicly opened and read and considered by the Brown County Board of Commissioners for qualified indigent defense services with expertise in all phases of legal services that fulfill statutory obligations as set forth in South Dakota Codified Law 23A-40-7. And other such instances in which the appointment of legal counsel at the expense of the county has been mandated by statute. We have one proposal, and it includes several attorneys.
Yeah, Doug, it's a two-year bid.
2-year bid?
I think that's what we did in the past.
A group of 8 attorneys, 9 of whom are professionally related to one another.
What was our past bid?
I believe it was $650, but I could be wrong.
You remember?
Russ, do you
Russ?
remember the amount of the last, was it $650?
Like 615.
15? Okay.
615,000.
2-year proposal, first year $750,000, the second $800,000.
Sounds like it's inflation.
Sounds like it. Russ, do you want to take this back and review it?
That was Ernest's recommendation. He's got a former judge, 2 former judges, to review it, and then we'll just make a recommendation to accept or reject all bids and start over.
Okay, having said that, I would entertain a motion to defer action on this until the state's attorney's had an opportunity to review along with the review committee that he's put together. Motion by Feldheim,
Second.
second by Gage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Ross. Okay. We'll get that on the agenda as soon as they can come back to us with the recommendation. Next up, Dirk Rogers, speed limits on Brown County 4, which for those of you that don't know is Dakota Street north of 24th Avenue, correct?
Yep. So, just to give you a quick background, a little bit of the nexus of this is originally, a comment came to Commissioner Weiss, and a few weeks ago from a resident up in that northernmost, I don't know what it's called, but the one that's on the north side of the berm, asking to extend the speed limit, because it's currently 35 up to the berm, you know, Bruckner Expressway, and then north of there it's 55 up to County 13. So that was the first time that came up. It's similar requests that we've got from, you know, the other places where there's subdivisions right next to our county roads, and kind of sat there for a minute because there's some extenuating circumstances with that road. And then I got a communication again, same topic, from the city, just, you know, not demanding anything, but just saying they're getting lots of requests for it. So, I'm not prepared to change the speed limit resolution today. I mean, if I wanted to throw it out there first. You've heard me say it 1,000 times before, I'm almost exclusively always for lowering speed limits because data shows it's safer and you burn less energy, so, that's my 2 cents on it. I'm trying to stay away from the other topic with that road until we can get our ducks in a row better on it. But at any rate, you know, we can proceed and I can come back with a modification for Lynn that we would just, all you would do is add a resolution or add an amendment to the speed resolution saying that, that's the other thing I don't know. You know, do we just extend it another quarter-mile north to encompass that next subdivision? Because then north of there, you've got whoever's got the farm left, and then you got Spurs north of there. So it's like a quarter-mile south of 13 is where the change would make, and it's already going to 35 at the half-mile line.
They want it raised?
No, they want it...
Lower?
Yeah, from 55 to 35, it would be a quarter-mile north of the berm.
So just on the south side of that farm where...
Yeah, right, whatever that line between the
Yeah.
subdivision and the farm would be. So my question though is, right now it's 55, I mean, you barely got enough room to start at 55, put in the advance warning sign, 'cause it's gonna drop at 20 miles an hour, you gotta have an advance warning sign.
It would make sense just making 35 all the way to 13, rather than let them get up to 55, just have to immediately slow down. That just...
So has the city taken over that first half mile?
not yet.
No.
Unbelievable. Did we pave it?
We milled it up and waited as long as I could take the phone calls, and then we shot oil on it, and then we had when we were chip sealing, we went through and chip sealed it, so.
Well, let's make a deal with the city. You take the road over and we'll lower the speed limit.
Well, I've had some conversations about that, and I'm trying to be very careful here because there's another factor involved. Let me put it to you this way. When I had the conversation with them recently, I said, you know, I feel like we missed the boat at the county when we allowed you to put the bike path in there and lost some of our leverage as far as getting them to take that over. So there's some conversations that I have to have there, and I don't want to do them right now in here without doing a little research. But I agree with you 100%.
Thank you.
100%.
It's my belief that when a municipality annexes the land on both sides of a county road, that there ought to be something in place that mandates that the annexing entity takes over responsibility of that road.
Exactly.
Well,
And
we
I
can
have-
find a legislature to bounce that off of somewhere.
I bounced that off one last week, and I think he's given it serious consideration.
So
And then the biggest other part of it, there's a huge TIF on the east side of the street. So we don't even get the property tax off that till the bonds are paid off. Wow.
We'll save that when I have a conversation going in a bad direction, I'll bring up tips, but, all those things.
Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
But, I mean, on a serious note, I guess, without going too far in the weeds here, we got the speed limit there, we got road ownership there, And we have potential for, I don't know, the word's not need, idea to extend the bike path. None of this is our stuff, other than we have jurisdiction over the speed limit part. The one thing I would caution against is lowering the speed limit is probably gonna be considered a safety deal, and that's probably not a good thing to play politics with. I don't know that I wanna dig in my heels on a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit until the city takes it over and have that be a condition. I get it, philosophically, yeah, but I don't know that that's wise to use that topic as a leverage tool, for whatever that's worth. And this conversation's been way deeper than I thought it was gonna be already, so.
Thanks for thinking.
That's not new either. We just, what, we got 3 months left and then it's smooth sailing or something, I don't know.
Sounds right. Sounds good to me.
But who's counting, right?
Yeah.
So, unless you guys have huge opposition, I was gonna proceed and we'll just go all the way up to 13 and make it 35 for the whole mile.
That would make the most sense to me unless anyone else has different thoughts. Rachel's not on the commission anymore, so.
Well, is 35 really the appropriate speed limit for there? Wouldn't 45 all the way through be more adequate for the first half of it, be 45 the last half? Where, I mean, just seems odd you're going 55 to 35.
Right.
There's such a spread in there that,
Well, it's gonna be a quarter mile until you come to the first subdivision. You know, I would actually think 45 and then go to 35 at the thing would be, I would rather do that than 55. And 35 for the whole mile's fine, but, I mean, you do kinda have a point, the first stretch there is, so.
well, would they live with 45 all the way through it? Or would the people on the south end then say it's too high? I mean, one says too low, one says too
45
high.
all the way, the whole mile, no, I wouldn't wanna switch to south, we've already got it down to 35, you know. And you know, I don't like raising speed limits, so.
Well, it's the best thing that happened out of Senate Bill 1 to change the interstate to 80.
Yeah,
The best thing that came out of that bill.
yeah. Get through Lyman County faster, you know.
Exactly.
So,
Right.
do you guys have a hard feeling either way then, 45, change it to 35, or make the whole thing 35?
I have a hard time with 35 all the way down that road.
I agree with that. I like the 45 if we can't keep it 55.
Okay. Well, how about 45 down and we'll change it at 35 on the north side of that first subdivision, and you'll have a half, let's see, you'll have a quarter mile at 45 and you'll have 3/4 of a mile at 35.
Sounds reasonable.
It's really good use of our time here the last 10 minutes, but, okay. That's all, you guys got any questions?
We just might liable to make somebody happy, just maybe.
What concerns me is if Dr. Bach coming to town's crabby before my physical, that's about all I'm worried about.
Before you leave, stop and talk to Erica if you would.
Okay, all right.
All right?
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have David Myers with Summit Carbon Solutions.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission.
Morning.
Dave Meyer here. I'm not only here as a resident of Brown County, but also an employee of Summit Carbon Solutions. I attended the Hub City Cup Show last week, and as I was sitting there, I was kind of puzzled by a couple of responses that were given by some of the commission, and one of them being was that we have not had enough information, to go off of, and questions about the safety side of things. And I guess, I know in the past Dan Lederman has been here, Trevor Jones has been here, and I've been here almost every Tuesday for the last 2 months, and I have only received one question. And I guess, if there's not any more questions than that, I guess, we're kind of wondering what more do you guys want to know? I can get engineers here, I can get anybody that you want here to answer any and all questions that you may have.
Anyone on the commission have any other questions?
Well, the only comment I would have is that, what part of no is it that Summit Carbon Solutions doesn't understand? And this commission made a decision that, no, we don't want the pipeline in Brown County. So what part of that does Summit Carbon Solutions not understand? I mean, do you think that after 4, 5, or 6 times that you've been in this commission chambers, that if somebody had questions, they wouldn't have already asked you? So what part of no don't you understand?
Okay, I can answer part of that. When Feldheim did ask me a question, when I came back 2 weeks later, because you guys had the state convention for commissioners, I came back with an answer, and then you had stated, well, I don't even know if we have the right to ask you a question, and answered. I mean, right? I mean, we're here. We've invited you to events to come and listen, and I guess to my knowledge, I've not seen you at any of the ones that I've attended.
But you didn't answer my question. What part of no don't you understand?
That's above my pay grade. That's not me.
Well, maybe you could come back with that answer next week.
Okay.
It's a question for you.
I will ask the powers that be.
That's a good one.
We have a fairly decent-sized audience today. Does anyone in the audience have any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Gage.
Do we have an exact route?
The maps that I handed out.
That is the actual route then?
That's fairly close. To my knowledge...
That's what'll be put into the PUC and everything?
So to my knowledge, the, major movements of the pipeline, are past the deadline, but, if we were, running, over here in the middle of your pasture, that we'd be able to move it along, a fence line is what I've been led to understand, that we're able to move it that far. But moving it as far as, large amounts, I believe we are past that deadline with the PUC.
So you can move it within a quarter that somebody would own, but not between ownership levels then?
That part, I don't know.
Anyone in the audience have any comments or questions of Summit Carbon Solutions?
Well, have you guys came out with your plume study yet? Have we got any signs behind this on the safety? Have we talked to any of the emergency responders on this? There's nothing that is at all science behind what you guys say. You just come here, everybody kind of whines around, why you're not giving us a chance. There was 8 months of chances, and you guys don't come up with the actual science behind any of this stuff. You just come and blow smoke up everybody's ass at every meeting you guys are at. It's the same stuff every time. And you don't get to discuss stuff in public comments. See, the reason you're on the agenda, all of a sudden we show up. We know how you guys are working this whole system over.
Well, I can tell you that we have met with every single emergency manager.
And what have they said? I know, I've talked to all of them. Anybody thinks this is safe, West Aberdeen, get it to come right down, pops and come in. You can't say how far that cloud's gonna go. You don't know how dangerous that cloud is. And you don't know how to tell the responders how to respond to this.
Well,
So it's not in any of the manuals, we know how this is. So, till you get some of them answers, quit wasting these guys' time also, the way it looks to me, and mine.
Okay, being you're so knowledgeable about that stuff, or at least appear to be, do you know how long a carbon pipeline has been around? And do you know how many miles of carbon pipeline there are?
None behind my house right now, I'm damn sure of that.
Well, it's been around since 1990, and there are over 5,000 miles of carbon pipeline, and we can drive right up to Beulah, North Dakota, where they have it, and they have had it.
What kind of pressure's in that pipeline? How big is that pipeline? How thick?
That's
Not irrelevant, but it's gonna be 24 inch behind my house, 2,246 pounds of pressure. It's gonna be damn.
That information.
Okay, you get it, have it here next week then.
Okay.
Guess we'll see you again. Waste another damn morning.
My concern is the safety to the public. The example that I give between Jared's place and mine, there's kind of a low spot in the road, school bus route. School bus coming along about 7:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden the bus quits, no oxygen. So he gets out, the driver gets out to see what's the matter, falls over dead, no oxygen. as well as the 19 kids on the school bus. What is the remedy for that?
I can certainly have our safety guy here next week,
Okay?
as long as it fits into a schedule, but I can get him here, and I know how to get a hold of you, Freddie.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, and that's my concern, is the
Okay.
safety. Now, the pipeline is gonna go right on the west edge of Aberdeen. We get a pretty good southwest breeze occasionally, pipe ruptures, and that's gonna happen. I don't care, the most expensive, fanciest pipe in the world, it's gonna rupture. Sooner or later, not today, not next month, but I think everybody agrees that sooner or later that pipe will rupture. Where, we don't know. First responders, I'm an old first responder. I wanna know what I'm going to before I get there. Trooper pulls up, deputy pulls up, gets out of his car, falls over dead, no oxygen.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Do you have hazmat training?
Do I?
Do you have hazmat training?
Yes, I do have hazmat training, because I'm on the rural fire department.
Would you bring that certificate next week so we could see it?
I can bring it.
Are you active right now?
What's that?
Are you active right now in the fire department?
I am.
Or are you currently suspended?
I'm
Little
active on-
altercation?
I'm active on the rural fire department.
You 100% can say that right now. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I don't believe you are currently active on there.
Okay, well, I am.
Little choking incident and you got banned.
I did not get banned from the fire department.
Well, we'll see.
Okay,
Go ahead,
that's
Dennis.
fine.
Do you have medical training for hazmat incidents?
I do not know.
Sir, do you have a question?
Yeah, can you, you say that, because of the existing pipelines, that it's safe. First of all, your company has never built one of these before. So we're supposed to take your word that it's safe. You don't have any evidence that you've ever done this before. And there are many examples of pipelines, carbon dioxide pipelines leaking and causing problems. We can go back to the one at Satarsha, Mississippi, where over 300 people were evacuated when that pipe exploded or ruptured. 30-some people were hospitalized. The company has been fined a large amount of money, $4.5 million by the feds, because of they didn't properly monitor the pipeline or respond properly to the rupture. So when you talk about safety, you can also, for you commissioners, if you'd like, you should just take some time and Google carbon dioxide leaks at packing plants. And you'll see several come up there. There was one in Chicago in 2019, I believe, or 18, where it leaked at their packing plant, and 11 people were overcome with carbon dioxide and were hospitalized. The one in Satarsha, the company got lucky because it happened in the daytime. That's why no one died. But you also can go online and you can hear comments from the first responders down there and the victims of the long-term effects that they're having from being exposed to that, and how the first responders couldn't even get to some of them to rescue them because the engines to the ambulances were stalling out because of the lack of oxygen. That's a fact. So the company comes and assures you that this is, you don't have anything to worry about, but they can't guarantee that. It's kind of like their figures they give you, that how much money it's going to bring into the county. They can't guarantee that either. I mean, I just saw this week in the Redfield Press, our local weekly paper, there was a big article in there put out by Summit telling about all these dollar amounts that the counties were going to get. And from Ernst & Young, that study has been proven to be bogus from the very beginning. We've had commissioners from other counties check into it and find out that it's way overinflated. And in fact, Ernst & Young even admitted that the figures given to them to do the study were provided by Summit. They weren't independently done by Ernst & Young. So I agree with Commissioner Pfeiffer. What part of no doesn't this company understand? We have several county commissioners, including Spink County, Brown County, McPherson. And Spink County has the majority of the miles of pipe in this project. They're unanimous against this. It's time to just go home and leave us alone. we've heard this, we've had enough. And, like Jared said, we're wasting our time. We're farmers. We're working every day. We don't have time. Summit is going out and hiring and paying these people to come into all the commissioner meetings and sit here and observe every week, because they've got money to throw around with all their secret investors. And that's the other question I'd ask. Why won't your company release the list of your investors so we can see where all these millions and billions of dollars are coming to fight us? And that's what I'd like to know, and they continually refuse that. The secrecy alone gives us all pause into why we absolutely, I don't trust anything, sir, that you could tell me about the company or anything. You're on their payroll. You're getting paid to spout their talking points. We're the taxpayers and the farmers and landowners out here, and we have to live with the results of this thing. Some of you people and Summit's people, they'll be long gone after this is built. They're just here to promote, and they're going to be gone. And they'll tell you that they're a Midwest company, and they're here to work with you and be good citizens. There's 2 points. Why then is your LLC and your company registered in the state of Delaware if you're so Midwestern? And here's the second thing. If you want to be good stewards, why are you filing lawsuits and suing individual landowners right now in every county up and down this line? Just last week, another 12 in Spink County got served papers. They're doing it in Brown County. They're doing it in McPherson, all over the state, because people don't want their land surveyed. And so instead of working with people, you're having the sheriff show up in their yard and serving papers on people. We even had one landowner, his elderly grandmother got served with papers. The problem with that is she's been dead for 2 years. I mean, that's really what we're up against. And this company, in my opinion, I agree with Commissioner Fikert. I wish you'd just go home and leave us alone. It's time to pull the plug. Thank you.
Question?
It is about safety, and the problem is the public doesn't know. Dwayne, you're on their board of Aspire. Do they know this is right across the road from them? Drew Court, Mr. Feldham, I think you know about that. This is Aberdeen. It's right in the city limits. This pipeline is going to go there. People don't even know about this. All the businesses along the highway going west, no one knows about this. This is a safety issue. I mean, Aspire moved to the country to get away from things. There, if this happens, which, as said, it will, the risk is there, look at the lives it's going to impact.
This
is safety. I mean, this is in our neighborhoods, our communities. People don't even know this. You can't say this is 100% safe. And then if there is a rupture, who's responsible for that? The landowner. The landowner is going to be held responsible for a rupture. Lawsuit. You can't even get an insurance to protect you from that. I mean, we're at risk. We're at risk. This affects our livelihoods. I just don't get it. Why the commission, the state of South Dakota, there's nothing positive about this. If carbon's so bad, put the money in doing the process difference. I mean, don't produce CO2, but there's businesses, there's an article out there that, I think it was Kraft Foods or something, there's a shortage of CO2 that they need in their process. And there's so many more smart ways to be doing this than to bury it in the ground and put everyone at risk. It's going to be there for lifetimes to come. And there's just nothing good about this.
Commissioner Fikert, I believe, had something.
Well, if you do come in next week, I want to know exactly how many welds there's going to be in Spink, Brown, and McPherson County, and I want to know where every intersection of the 6-inch pipe goes into the whatever the next bigger pipe is. I want to know every solitary weld. Put it on a map, draw it out, and we want to see it.
I will work on getting that information for you.
If this is a Midwest project, why is there money from South Korea? Why is there money from Saudi Arabia? And Saudi Arabia does not like the United States. I've been there. I spent 9 months there. They do not like Americans. The chaplains had to take their crosses off. The female soldiers had to wear a jacket so they didn't have bare arms. At this, they're spending money in the United States.
Do you have another comment, sir?
I was just going to comment. My son works here, he's a paramedic here at the fire department here in Aberdeen, Brown County. he actually goes out to the rural fire departments, and he's the one that teaches the classes on how to respond to hazardous leaks and pipelines. I know he's talked to Commissioner Fikert about this. He would have come today himself to explain that they're not equipped to do these things, but he's working. And so I had him communicate with Commissioner Fikert. He's got a lot of information on this, and he will tell you that they are not equipped to handle this sort of thing. It's not safe. There are so many issues that Summit's not addressing here. And I agree, one more thing about the plume study. We've heard rumors that they have done the plume study, and the results haven't come back, and that's why it hasn't been released. So we're waiting for an independent study on it as landowners to find out just what's happening. But Summit, I don't think they got the results back that they wanted about the safety, and that's why they're sitting on that plume study. Thank you.
Go ahead,
I'm
Dennis.
surprised the city has not gotten more involved with this pipeline right on the west side of town.
They didn't even know about it when I called. They, what's this about? Oh, that's way out in the country. No, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
No, it's not.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Well, I guess with the Ernst & Young study, my curiosity is, and maybe you could get this answer for us too, being we're gonna get so much money, so much property tax, and it's gonna help the hospitals too. Be the first time I ever knew that the hospitals got property tax money. So what I'd like to have you do is find out from the company if the Ernst & Young study is really this great study that's really got all the proof about how we're gonna get, all the counties are gonna get all this money. Find out why they won't sign a contract that says what the Ernst & Young study says we're gonna get for property tax relief. Have them sign a contract and bring it in here, and then we've got something to go by. Otherwise, it's just goo gobble. They don't mean nothing. So get that
I
contract
will relay that information.
and we'll get it signed.
I'll relay that information.
Nobody is after you personally. You have a job, you represented a place, but nobody's picking on you directly.
No, I understand.
Okay, all right.
Sure. Anyone else would like to comment on this? I guess I feel that as a county commission, we have clearly stated our support for this pipeline not coming through Brown County. We passed a moratorium, so I feel we as a body have done what we can do at this point. We've been told we have no jurisdiction. We've been told we do have some jurisdiction. So the jury's still out on what we can and actually can't do. But I think we've taken a couple steps in the right direction to keep people safe in the county and do the right thing. So we will continue to listen, and I know I've attended a couple meetings that have taken place, and one at the Ramcota was very well attended earlier this year, and we continue to hear opposition, so we hear what you're saying, but on the flip side, this gentleman is doing his job as it was stated, so we appreciate everyone remaining civil today and coming in and voicing your concerns, and I'm sure we have not heard the last of this issue.
Can I make one last
Yes.
comment? I mean, I just hope you understand that this is a transfer of wealth. That's exactly what this whole Summit Carbon Solution thing is nothing but a transfer of wealth. It's a government grab, it's a grab for government money, and it's gonna be on the backs, and it's gonna cost the landowner twice. It's gonna cost him the inconvenience of having a dangerous pipe on his land, and then it's also gonna cost him, because he's gonna pay tax, it's gonna go to the federal government, that's gonna go to the individuals that are sucking the money off this thing. It is a transfer of wealth, just so you understand that.
Anyone else have any comments? If not, thank you for all of you for taking time out of your day. I know you're all busy, coming in and voicing your concerns.
Thank you guys for the questions.
Sounds like we'll be having this on the agenda again next week when you'll be providing some requested information.
Yes.
Probably see you all then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, brings us to the end of our regular agenda items. Now we'll take up the consent calendar.
Approval of the general meeting minutes of September 27th.
Move. Motion by Fikert. Second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claims.
Move. Motion by Feldheim.
Second.
Second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the HR report. I believe it is followed with request to fill. Based on the ongoing conversation that we're having regarding the preliminary findings of our wage study and some possible potential reorganization within some departments, maybe we just need to acknowledge her retirement as of January 1st, and then at this point, not authorize the request to fill the position. Just a suggestion. Everybody okay with that?
Oh, I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. Have a conversation with Erica. Somebody needs to have a conversation with Erica and just, kind of lay that out that way.
So I think we need to change the HR report and eliminate the request to fill part of that HR report. Just acknowledge.
Well, is she not retiring until January 1st?
So
we've got, yeah.
Or we could even just table action on it and maybe have them fill out a new HR report that just has the acknowledgement of the retirement on it.
You want a motion on that?
Well, we have a motion and a second, so if anyone wants to
I'll
offer
amend my motion
substitution.
to, wait with the HR report at a later date.
Okay, we have a substitute motion to table the HR report for today and have them submit a new one down the road.
Second.
Yep, we can do that.
Yep, okay. And a second by Gage. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Travel request.
Move.
Motion by Fikert.
Second.
Second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Sheriff report for August.
Move.
Motion by Gage.
Second.
Second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claim assignment.
Move.
Motion by Feldheim.
Second.
Second by Fikert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Authorize advertising for the tax deed sale.
So move.
Motion by Fikert.
Second.
Second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Leases.
Move it.
Motion by Feldheim.
Second.
Second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission? Any other business? Anyone have anything else to bring up? We had a request to go into executive session regarding contracts. Erica, do you need one at all for personnel? Okay. Okay.
Do we have any indication of what the contract's gonna be about? I mean, is it something similar to, should we been in executive session for our rodeo contract? Or is that just an open contract? I guess, I'm curious as to what's the specifics of, a particular contract and why we need to go into executive session.
I guess the contract would probably be in the lines of confidentiality due to the fact that, a contract would be in a personal matter that we would not want other competition to know what the contract is about, so it would have to be confidential. Does that make sense?
Well, I would say that Sutton Rodeo would have the exact same opportunity then with the rodeo contracts. What's the difference? You got 9 potential bidders. Do we know whether there's another bidder out there, or have we had an RFP for this particular situation? I don't like it. I mean, I don't, it's not right. And I guess I could carry it further, but we're not in an executive session, and, I mean, who put the numbers together? Is anybody familiar with where the numbers come from? I mean, did somebody just sit down and come up with a bunch of numbers? I'm not picking on you, Doug, don't get me wrong, but it just looks to me like, and I've got some other questions about it too, and maybe that's the only reason that I might favor going into executive session. There's just something smelly, and it doesn't pass the stink test, put it that way. so.
I'm at a loss for words, so I don't know what you wanna do.
Well, do we wanna go into executive session to discuss it or not?
Where's Ross?
I don't know what contract you guys are talking about.
Well, see, there's part of the problem.
I think because of the potential competitive nature of what we'll be discussing, I think we need to go into exec to discuss it, and when we come out of exec, if a decision is reached.
Well, I guess I would suggest we go into exec, and Ross, you could be the deciding factor at that. I mean,
That's fine.
I guess that's the way I would play it.
I think
is
the
that-
issue between the rodeo and this was, we have to do a new RFP. When we come down to negotiating the terms of the contract with Sutton, there might be some, or whoever gets it, there might be some confidentiality issues, but we just aren't that far into the process with that. So, without knowing what we're gonna talk about here, I think you can differentiate.
Well, the problem is, obviously I know a little bit more about it than you do even, so. But anyway, whatever has to go, has to go. Just doesn't pass the smell test, that's all there's to it.
Well, I guess we could go into exec and just present what we're gonna do, and if we don't agree that is exec, we'll pull back out of exec. We don't have to make any decisions, or... I guess that's the way I would look at it, as long as we're not gonna make a decision. If we don't agree that it should be exec, then we just pull out of exec and not discuss the contract.
Before we can take any action, we need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll move it.
We have a motion by Feldheim to go into executive session to discuss contracts.
I'll second.
Second by Gage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Opposed, nay. Okay, we are in exec to discuss contracts. All right, we're out of executive session with no action as a result. Is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission?
We got a department head meeting today?
Excuse me?
Next week.
The 11th.
At the 11th.
Department head meeting next week, right after the commission.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Piker to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.